It is with a very warm heart that we welcome you to today's episode of Tax Matters. And you can see that we are very happy. We are in celebration mood. It is celebration time. And what are we celebrating? For the first time ever in the history of Nigeria, for the first time in the history of tax collection, for the first time in the history of the Federal Inland Revenue Service, the service collected 5 trillion naira in taxes. Yes, you heard me right. 5 trillion naira. According to a statement released on Sunday, the 27th of January 2013 by Mr. Emmanuel Obeta, the Director, Corporate Communications and Liaison Department at the FRS headquarters. The 2012 collection, that is from January to December 2012, represents the highest cumulative tax collected in the history of the FRS and represents an increase of 8.20 over the 4.628 trillion collected in 2011. More importantly, the 2012 collection is 37.5% higher than the federal government's target of 3.63 trillion set for the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Every year, the Federal Minister of Finance, on behalf of the federal government, sets a target for the FRS. And typically with the FRS, it sits down and sets its own higher target. And so, from a target of 3.6 trillion set for it, the FRS collected 5 trillion naira. Mr. Obeta goes on in his statement to affirm that the performance reflects the commitment, the unwavering commitment of the FRS to its vision of making taxation the pivot of national development. We recall that late in 2012, at a series of retreats held by the different operational groups of the FRS, the acting executive chairman, Alhaji Kabiru Mashi, in reviewing the performance of the service, the tax collection performance of the service from January to October, did say that yes, 4 trillion had been collected, which meant at that point that they had already overshot the target set by the federal government. But he did make a promise.
As you are aware, or some of you may be aware, our target for this year is 3.7 trillion naira. But as at the end of October, I think we have collected 4.2 trillion naira. The effort is appreciated, but we can do better. We promise to hit 5 trillion naira by end of December, and I know we can do it.
Mission accomplished. Promise kept. Alhaji Mashi, kudos, thumbs up. And to the numerous tax collectors, the foot soldiers, from the driver to the coordinating directors, we say thank you very much. Because what you did on behalf of all of us. More grease to your elbow, and please keep the flag flying. Now it's time to sit down for other business of the day. You know that in collecting these taxes, different strategies are put in place. Different modes of operation are put in operation from time to time. One of them is the introduction of TIN, Taxpayer Identification Number. The FRS went ahead to also link up that TIN to importation and exportation. That is to say, if you do business with the customs, you must also use your TIN in doing that business. Away from the old Asikuda. Today, we are going to talk to two gentlemen who will be shedding more light on the need for importers to have TIN and to validate the TIN. The program is Tax Matters, and my name is Olumuyiwa Matuluko.
How long it go take for you to clear my container?
I dey do am, Oga. Then say we go bring our team.
Our team? Which team?
Custom don't change, Oga. I never say we.
I want to concern FRS with my business. I will talk to Gaba myself. You are fired.
Oga.
Oga Gaba, which one be this our team again?
The taxpayer identification number now the only way where you fit take do business with Nigerian Customs Service now. You fit process your own free TIN sharp for any FRS office.
Soji.
You just sack me, no.
Get our TIN now.
This message now from Federal Inland Revenue Service and Nigeria Customs Service.
Very glad you could make our time to join us on today's episode of Tax Matters. My name is Olumuyiwa Matuluko. More than a year ago, precisely on the 3rd of November 2011. The Nigerian Customs Service and the Federal Revenue Service jointly launched the Taxpayer Identification Number Scheme for importers. The event was held in Lagos. More than a year after, the scheme has taken firm roots. And by December 2012, the Federal Revenue Service flagged up the No Tin, No Business project. That is, if an individual or a corporate body operating in Nigeria does not have a taxpayer identification number, then it cannot do business in Nigeria going forward. And that is what today's episode of Tax Matters is all about. This taxpayer identification number scheme, how does it affect business owners, especially importers and exporters? And to shed light on the matter, we have two gentlemen in the house. Mr. Kunle Olley is a Deputy Director with the Federal Revenue Service in the ICT Department, Information Communication Technology Department. And he is joined by Mr. Malik Tukur, an Assistant Director in the Modernization Group of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Gentlemen, you are welcome to Tax Matters.
You're welcome.
When you say no tin, no business, what do you mean?
It's a slogan that is used to get across to the taxpayers that now, from now going forward, without the tin, you will not be able to transact your business in the country. So, no tin, no business was coined to capture that instance. Of course, we know there are many transactions in the country. Federal government issue contracts. You can be an importer, you can be an exporter, you can be a foreign exchange trader or broker. You can import pharmaceutical products. So you may be registered with the NAFDAC. You may be in solid minerals, doing transactions with solid minerals. So all these different diverse transactions going forward, no tin, no business.
Okay. So, how do I acquire tin?
To acquire tin, you first of all make sure you are registered as a corporate organization. You are registered with the Corporate Affairs Commission, that's CAC. Once you have your certificate of incorporation, you take that certificate of incorporation to any of the FRS tax office. Especially, it would be nice to actually go to the one nearest to where you have your business address. So, but you can still go anywhere you can, because you are still going to be registered. So, with your CAC certification of incorporation, they will actually make use of the RC numbers given to you, so that you want to ensure that no two organizations, definitely no two organizations, have the same RC number, and it's based on that the logic that generates the thing at the back end will bring out the thing for that particular corporate organization. But meanwhile, you also need to supply information apart from the certificate of incorporation. You still supply your address, which is what we use to assign you to our ITOs. With that, without paying any, you don't need to pay anything to any of this. And we are not collecting any money to generate it. It is free. So with that, you'll be given your TIN number, and based on that TIN number, you can now do any business in the country. You are doing business with government, you want to be paid, you specify your TIN number. You want to go to the bank, you specify your TIN number to pay as regards to any tax type that you want to pay. So that's what you just need. It is free and it's very easy. In the next 5-10 minutes, you should be through.
What exactly is the link to importation, to customs, to importers, to CBN? Mr. Malik.
The issue is all agencies are related. For instance, if you want to import something into the country, where do you buy your foreign exchange? Let's say it is CBN. Primarily CBN, of course, you can buy from secondary market. But as you buy, it is meant for certain what you declare. You want to import maybe some machineries. Fine, you import your machineries. Before the tin era, CBN has its own ways of identifying the importer or the person buying the foreign exchange with its own number in Form M. The importer, they use different set of number to identify themselves as importer. I think they call it a Asikuda number. So, but then there is no relationship between Asikuda and the Form M. You are buying Forex to import certain things you have imported, but then there is no linkage to show that, yes, you are the one that bought, therefore, the money that you bought is judiciously used. There are other agencies as well that are in this party. For instance, NAFDAC, Drug Control, they have their own NAFDAC number, we all know that. But then, if one of the pharmaceutical companies want to import, then there is no relationship between their own NAFDAC number, CBM Form M, and the import that they're doing. So it is commonly decided that, okay, what do we use to identify, number one, the importer or the taxpayer? So the agency sat and said, okay, tax is the most important element in the country. It is what is used to develop the country. So it was decided to use the taxpayer identification number to identify these corporate entities that are doing business. So that is the linkage. Now, if you use your TIN number, number one, you have identified yourself that you are a corporate tax-paying entity in the country. You go to CBN, you still quote your TIN number and say, I am this corporate taxpayer, I want to buy Forex. What do you need it for? I'm importing certain products. You go to import, you still quote the same TIN number. I'm importing this category, I have bought this Forex from Central Bank. And so the linkage goes, you of course import it, and that seals it. So that's the linkage.
So the company, the limited liability company, brings certificate of incorporation from CAC.
Definitely.
What does the individual bring?
Fine. Presently, what they bring is that either the ID card or passport, international passport, just to be able to recognize them. So we just get something to recognize that this is this person, and we actually give them thing. That's what we do. So they don't need to bring any CS because it will not be given to individuals. So they will need to bring something to identify them for us to create the TIN number for them.
How long it will take for you to clear my container?
I dey do am, Oga. Then say we go bring our team.
Our team? Which team?
Custom don't change, Oga. I never say
And what you concern FRS with my business? I will talk to Gaba myself. You are fired.
Oga.
Oga Gaba, which one be this our team again?
The taxpayer identification number now the only way where you fit take do business with Nigerian Customs Service now. You fit process your own free tin, sharp for any FRIS office.
Soji,
You just sack me, no.
get our team now.
This message now from Federal Inland Revenue Service and Nigeria Customs Service.
Welcome back. The program is still Tax Matters, and we're looking at taxpayer identification number, especially with regard to validation for the purposes of importing, doing business with the Customs Service and the Central Bank of Nigeria. And our guests, those gentlemen who are taking us through the process, are Mr. Kunle Olley and Mr. Malik Tukur, both of the Federal Inland Revenue Service. Mr. Malik, this TIN, as we've spoken about now, we've sort of laid the foundation for our discussion, because the real reason why we are here today is because importers seem to be having some challenges with what we now call validation. We understand that you require those organizations to validate the TIN number that has been given to them by the FRS. What seems to be the challenge?
Actually, it's quite an issue, because it's not funny. For some of them, they have demurrage, they have goods, awaiting importation, clearance, custom clearance, and they say they require TIN. So what is this validation all about? FRS recognize that there is a challenge, but the challenge is something that is surmountable. Now, there are steps there are basic steps that the taxpayer should do to validate his TIN. Number one, like my guy said, if the corporate, whether corporate or individual, does not have a TIN, he needs to get the TIN. The second step is you need to update your data with us. What do you mean by update? Update is simple by providing your mobile number and then an email address. The bankers usually say valid email address, or because some may not be valid. And that is where the challenge lies. A lot of the companies have, let me say, landlines. So if you say telephone number, yes, they will give you a landline, for instance. But that landline will not go through, will not validate.
Why?
The landline will not go through because we require that mobile number to send text messages of all the transactions you are doing with the single window. In the same way, we're going to send email with the instruction how to go about doing your business. So without these two variables, you may not be able to validate or continue transact your business with the customs or CBN or FIRS. So that is one. In the format itself, the format for email is that @ sign, Malik at gmail.yahoo.com or Muyiwa at taxmatters.com. So without that @ the system will not recognize it as a valid email. So that is very important for our viewers to know. Then on the email address, on the mobile number, we have agreed that landlines, well, some landlines do have text messaging, but that is not so common. Mm-hmm. So it was decided to make it uniform.
Use GSM.
Use GSM.
No problem.
080, 07, 081, they are all mobile numbers. So once you do that, this is being done, by the way, at the tax office. So this is the update. So after updating the record, the next step is to validate it on what we call Trade Portal. Trade Portal is a web address, www.trade.gov.ng. That is what is popularly known as single window. So under that single window or Trade Portal, you have several agencies. One of the menus is agencies. You have several, like 10 to 15 agencies. NAFDAC is one of them. Nigeria Customs Service, NCS is another one. Central Bank, CBN is there. FIRS is also there. NASRIA, a lot, about 10 to 15 agencies are there. But now, since we want to validate the TIN, which was issued by FIRS, you click on FIRS. If you click on Customs, you will not see where to validate. If you click on a CBN, you will not see where to validate. So you go to FIRS, click on FIRS under agencies. Then it will open up a page where you need to enter the TIN number that was issued by FIRS and the email address. Now you may have 2 or more email address. You give FIRS one and you use another. So it's electronic data, it will not go through. So it's one of the major causes of issues with the importers. So one has to make sure that it's the same email that, or you may have, is the same email that you give to FIRS that you are also quoting here. Uniformity. And so once you enter these fields, there is another field called capture, which shows that it is not a robot that is entering the data, it is human being. that is entering that data just to verify one funny looking word. Then you enter it and then click validate. This is the second step. If the record coincide or correspond with the one in the FRS data, it will say validation successful. But that is not the end of the story. That is step 2. Okay, you have what did you key in? You only key in TIN and email. What are the other data that you have? What are the other information about your company? What is the company name? What is the RC number? So you see, it is not captured here. That's the next step. So it will ask the owner or the person who is doing the entry to authenticate. Authenticate. After validation, an email with the instruction how to do this authentication will be sent. It's also going to send in the password. For some importers, the minute they update their record, they'll say, where is my password? So you can see it's not even on the step 2, but on step 3. That password is going to be emailed after validation, not before. So, of course, you have provided the email. You should log on to your mailbox, email that you provided FIRS. Open your inbox, you will see the instruction that is sent to you together with the password. It is a temporary password. So, in fact, it's so long that you cannot even more than 30 characters. So it's just a click. You just click on it. You don't need to write it. You can write it. You can type it in if you want, but then it's really quite long. I would just advise you click on it, and then the page to authenticate what you provided will display. What information will be displayed there include the RC number. Like I said, that is the primary key to identify companies. Then the company name will be there. The address will also be there. Even the line of business will also be there. Of course, the email that you provided will also be quoted there for you to look at physically and say, yes, it's my own, no, it's not my own. So for some, they'll say, yes, it's my own, but the address is not my own. So they can now, what do? They should go back to the tax office where they got that thing and change it. Give them the correct business address. The registered address is one they gave to CAC, so it may not change. It's already in the system, but the business can change today. You may be in Lagos, tomorrow you're in Abuja. So after that is called authentication. You know, this is just physical look to certify that this is correct. Then the last step, you now click on register. That is when you register as an importer or as a member of this single window community. So you can see that really the steps are like are many, like 4 steps, 4 or 5 steps actually, which the taxpayer need to know, and once you do it, you will not have much problem. But okay, what happens if there is a change? I don't want to use this email. I want to use another. What do? You cannot by yourself change it because it is not your system. So the taxpayer need to go back to the tax office to update again his email that he want to change, and then that same record will be pushed to the single window, the trade portal, and that is it.
Well, like they always say, the mouth wants to ingest everything, but there's a mechanism in there that regulates what comes in. There's so much to say, so much to talk about, but time is not exactly our friend. We have only 25 minutes to do this on a weekly basis. And so the discussion on TIN and validation, TIN validation with regards to importation of goods will continue next week. So we are enjoying you to join us on this same session, same day of the week, same time of the day. And of course, Mr. Kunle Olley and Mr. Malik Tukur will still be here. I want to thank you most sincerely for watching, and please don't forget to keep a date with us next week. Have a good week ahead.